My name is Arun Jagtiani, and I'm a proud St. Martin. In a few short weeks, our country is going to be heading to the polls to elect 15 new members to Parliament. There's 126 candidates from 9 different political parties that are contesting this election, and I think the entire voting population could benefit from knowing a little bit more about who these candidates are. Over the next few days, I'm going to interview a few new faces and a few political veterans. So join me, St. Martin, and let's talk politics. Welcome to another edition of Talking Politics with Arun Jagtiani. I'm joined today by the founder, the number 1 candidate of the OSPP party, none other than Mr. Lenny Priest. How are you doing, sir?
I'm pretty good, and I'm very happy to be here too.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Mr. Priest, we're going to dive straight into it. The name of the show is Talking Politics. That's what we're here to do. You're the founder of the OSPP party, which I believe was founded, you mentioned, in 2013.
Yes.
And the first time the party contested an election was 2014.
Correct.
The party did not gain a seat in that election. Mm-hmm. What makes you confident that you can gain a seat this time around?
Well, 2 things. First of all, we told the public that no matter what the results were in 2014, that we will be their voice outside of Parliament for the next 2 years or 4 years, which we did.
Yes.
And this time we're even more confident because of the work that we've done outside of Parliament.
Okay, so you've had a good, let's say, grassroots.
Yes. And I think other than that, we have submitted several proposals and plans to government over the last 2 years. And I can safely say here, even more than some of the members who are part of Parliament at this particular moment.
Interesting, very interesting. Now, although the party is relatively new, you're certainly no stranger to the political arena here in St. Martin. For the benefit of the viewers, can you give us a little background of your resume?
Well, let me put it this way. I returned to St. Martin in 1983, and there was an election at that time, and I jumped right into the election. So I have been involved, not as a candidate at that time, because the first election that I contested was in 1991.
Okay.
And I ran at that time number 12 on the SPA slate.
Okay, interesting. And what positions have you held? You served in Island Council?
Yes, I've served for 8 years as a member of the Island Council.
Okay.
And I served as a year and a half as a member of the Executive Council, so as a commissioner in charge of harbor, finance, labor, and many different portfolios.
So from those experiences in serving in the Island Council, what lessons do you think you learned that would prepare you to serve in Parliament now, and what were some of your proudest accomplishments from that time?
Well, I would say the most important has been the harbor. That we've had close to 10, 15 different commissioners that talked about getting the harbor project started. And on September 1st, 1998, after serving for almost about 8, 9, 10 months, I was able to get the financing, get a water rights, and start the harbor project on September 1st, 1998.
Okay, so a lot of people I think are unaware of this. You were the key instrument at the time to get the new harbor that we have, which has won so many awards, but that groundwork, you were a major part of laying that groundwork together.
Yeah, definitely. I think that when we look at it, I mean, people look at other persons, but I believe that one of the most important things, as I always tell people, that the water rights, because as you know, in that time, the water rights, the Great Bissau Pond, all the waters around St. Martin was owned by the federal government. Okay. And we had to travel to Curacao, where I met with the Minister of Finance, a gentleman by the name of Harold Henriquez, and we were able to seal that deal to get the water rights in order to start the harbor project, as well as the financing. You know, because that's important, because I mean, you can have ideas, but if you don't have the land, you don't have the financing, then all it is just a pie in the sky idea.
Exactly, then it's just a dream.
Yes. So, and we were able to get it started and during that time. And I think it was a major accomplishment because, you know, the preparation that we did, the impact study, the economic impact study, all of those studies were done during the time that we were part of the Executive Council.
So what does it make you feel like watching the harbor has come a long way since its inception? It was very well received. It's certainly had a major impact on our economy. What's it felt like for you, perhaps watching from the sidelines in some respects, as it's continued to develop and serve this country in many different ways? Some of it is controversial. Some of it is definitely, you know, unquestionably positive. What is your take on it?
Well, you know, as I mentioned to you earlier, that after we contested the 2014 election, and there were several proposals that we submitted to government, and for us it's about St. Martin. So the fact that when I look at the development of St. Martin and the harbor playing a very important role, it gives me a great feeling of satisfaction, because the fact is that we were able to start the project, and therefore the same thing goes for this election, that there's so many ideas that we have, And given a chance, I know we will be able to accomplish those also. The experience serving as a member of the Island Council for 8 years and as a member of the Executive Council for a year and a half prepared me to be able to serve and to be able to do right for the people of St. Martin this time around.
Very interesting. Let's talk about a campaign trail for 1 second. There's 126 candidates contesting this election. When you made the commitment, well, I guess you made the commitment way before elections were announced to contest this election. What criteria did you have when recruiting people for the OSPP? Because I see some new faces from the last time around. And also, I also noticed that a lot of your campaign materials, posters and signs came up a little later than some of the other parties out there. Was that a strategic move? Or was there just an overwhelming amount of challenges to come out of the gates?
Well, to answer the first question, in terms of the candidates joining the list, we're the only political party that made it mandatory that every candidate had to get a police record before they joined the list. It is not a requirement by law, but as a political party, it was a policy of the party.
Interesting.
Going back to 2014 election, we've had 2 members who, for whatever reason, felt that it was not a requirement by law, and based on that, they were not going to submit a police record, and based on that, they did not participate on the election with us. In terms of looking at the color, in terms of the material, for us what was important is that, first of all, as a new party that is not in Parliament, we still had to go through the process of acquiring the color. Even though we used it in 2014, the law still indicated that once you were not a member of Parliament, your party was not in Parliament, you still had to go and request that color for this election. So that was one of the reasons why we came out late with our campaign material.
Of course, because it affects your branding materials, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't order nothing until you have the
exactly,
color.
until we have that color, yes.
Interesting. So I know you're very focused on the economy. We had a little conversation off camera before, and a couple of things I want to touch on, but in the interest of time, I'm really curious to know your thoughts on the China Pearl, which seems like it could have a huge impact on our economy, whether negative or positive is being heavily debated. What are your thoughts on, one, the way the project has been rolled out, and do you think it's a good project or not, based on the info you have?
Well, from the outside, not having any type of information, of course, there's some crucial studies that had to be done. And I'm still hoping that those studies has been done, economic study, an environmental impact study. Those are crucial studies.
Very important.
Second of all, I think what is important is that we must make sure that this project is not one that was supposed to take place when the airport was going to be built many years ago, in the 1990s, the late 80s, early 90s.
I remember.
That basically that we had what is called an export loan from the Italians, where everything had to come out of Italy. The workers, the material, the equipment. So we're hoping that this project is none such that everything has to come out of China. Because I would say here that if that is the case, then I would indicate that that project is not in the interest of the people of St. Martin.
Very interesting. And what about the way that it's been rolled out? Do you think this is the way that projects of this scale should be introduced to the community, or do you think that the minister or the people behind the party, behind the project, could have taken a different approach?
Well, yes, I believe so, because I think when you're having a project of that nature, I think it's important that they should have been providing the people with information, because I can't imagine that this just happened in the space of 1 week or 2 weeks. It took a very long time.
Yes.
So therefore, they should have been preparing the people to know what is basically coming, and all the studies and the information that is being requested, even within their coalition partners, because all indications are that they themselves didn't have any type of information where this project is concerned. And based on that, we've seen them peppering the government about certain information. I think that is wrong, because once that happens, it sends the wrong message to the population that this is not a well thought out project, because even your coalition partners are not aware of all the details.
Do you feel like they've maybe rushed the announcement a little bit to help as a political move?
Well, you know, I think that, again, as I mentioned about the project, the harbor project, that when we were involved in that project, we had everything basically in place before we announced the starting of the project on September 1st, 1998. But the population was well informed, you know, over the 9 months, 10 months period of time. So it was not that groundbreaking, but nobody basically knew. So I think that they should have informed and advised the population so that they could have been well informed about the development where the project is concerned.
Sure. Mr. Priest, I know the economy is something you're really focused on. Something I think we're really struggling with in St. Martin is our tax code and our low compliance rate. What ideas does the OSPP party have to address this if given the opportunity to serve in Parliament?
Well, first of all, when we look at the creation of jobs, jobs are created by businesses, not government. Government's supposed to be a facilitator. We look at some of the taxes, in particular the profit tax, that one of the proposals, and it's not something new, we have submitted that to government, that we believe that the profit tax should be reduced. Right now it's
Absolutely.
about 33%. It is very high and when you compare with throughout the world. So we have proposed to reduce that. We have also proposed different taxes, an environmental tax, in order that we can direct that towards the cleaning up of our lagoon, the cleaning
Yes.
up of the dump, our different water, our ponds, etc., etc. So these are some of the ideas that we have brought forward in terms of tax incentives to create new businesses so that we can create jobs for our people.
Do you feel like the tax code needs to be simplified, or do you think the process of paying taxes is not the problem?
No, I think it needs to be simplified. It needs
Okay.
to be simplified. I also believe that we need to strengthen our inspection of taxes, to
Sure.
bring in equipment, the training of the staff, so that they would have the means and the ways how to go about collecting taxes. And that's one of the reasons I believe that we have such a low compliance rate.
Sure. I think it's also very important that the departments communicate with one another, because oftentimes you have to bring a piece of paper from here to there, and then come back to the way you were in the first place, and then they say they didn't get it. Anyway, that's just been some of my personal experience,
Yes.
but I'm sure I'm not the only one.
No, but I think that definitely we need to make things much easier as it
Yes.
pertains to government, because as indicated, government is a facilitator to make things easier. A lot of things that are happening within government, from permits that take 2-3 months, building permits, businesses permit,
Correct.
that time can be shortened. Okay, and I think those are some of the things that are definitely impacting our economy at this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. I would love to continue, but in the interest of time, we have to wrap it up. I wish you the best of luck come September 26th. It's been an absolute pleasure. Good luck to you and the OSPP party. And in closing, I'd love to give you a moment to speak directly to the voters and give them your message.
Well, this election is one of the most important elections in the history of this young nation. People, you have an opportunity to determine whether you want to continue to have the type of unstable government that we have had over the last 6 years. Now is your time. The time is now for you to decide. And there's only one party. We have proven it to you over the last 2 years by bringing proposals to the government that are important to improve the quality of life of you, the people of St. Martin. On Monday, September 26th, vote for the OSPP, vote for the Purple Party, vote for the #1 list, vote for the #1 candidate, yours truly, Lenny Priest.